Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Zoo podcast and Zoo TV channel. My name is Candy, and I am here with some of my fellow Zoo media staff. We are all seniors, and today we are going to be doing a senior roundtable discussion. You may have seen these pop up in the past, but today we're just going to be talking about how we feel about virtual graduation coming up, some of our future plans, and just what we think of the world right now and how our career is going to be evolving. So before we get into anything too juicy, we're just going to do some quick introductions just so you know who we're talking to. I'll go ahead and start real quick. So my name is Candy Placentia. I am a senior journalism major, also minoring in public relations. And for Zoo Media, I serve as an executive producer for Zoo Podcast. And I also serve as the managing editor for one of two managing editors for Zoo Magazine. And yeah, and a fun fact about me is that I live in a house with 13 other people because we are a big family. Let's go ahead and throw it to Sarah.
Hi, I'm Sarah Sedfeld. I am a senior journalism major. Obviously, I'm graduating this May. And I'm the executive producer for Zoo TV. I have no minors, but I did learn a lot in this one major because I switched majors a few times. A little fun fact about me, I did a year in New York during college. So, yeah.
So thank you, Sarah. How about Carissa?
Hi everyone, I'm Carissa Enns, and I am a double major in honors, humanities, and journalism. So fun there, no minors because 2 majors was enough for me. And I am the editor-in-chief of Zoo News. And a fun fact about me is that I've never broken a bone, but I have cracked my head open. So that's pretty brutal, if I do say so myself.
For sure, quite the fact, Carissa. Thank you for sharing. And last but certainly not least, Miss Anna.
Hey everyone, I'm Anna Savchenko. I come from a little island called Cyprus, which is near Greece. I am a graduate student and I'm in the English degree. I did my undergrad at APU as well in journalism, yes. And the fun fact is that I am on the women's tennis team here at APU.
Awesome. Well, now that you guys have gotten a chance to meet our participants, we're going to just get straight into some of the questions. These are going to be discussion-based questions, so hopefully you're going to hear from all 4 of us on these various topics. And without further ado, we're just going to get right into it. So our first question that we would all want to discuss is, Carissa, we're going to go ahead and start with you with, just the obvious one. How are you feeling about graduating over Zoom? And do you have any special plans to celebrate your graduation?
So graduating over Zoom is definitely a little different than I think what we expected when you're, a freshman and you're getting ready to graduate. And as I think it's as hard as it's been because, other colleges are doing something that's not entirely virtual. I think it's always good to kind of look for, like the rainbows, in this scenario. And I think something that I've been really blessed with is that my family and I are going straight on a grad trip after I graduate. So basically I finish finals, I drive home, and then we're doing a grad trip. So we're gonna go to the Grand Canyon, the Arches, Bryce Canyon, and Yellowstone, all of which are places that I have never been to. So I'm super excited. It's gonna be a fun trip. But as far as actual post-grad plans, I think I don't really have any besides applying for jobs. So future employer, if you're listening to this, hire me. But I do have some big dreams and goals. I would love to be a reporter coming out of this, and then also just be able to start my own media company is a big dream of mine. So that's way down the road, but that's something that's super exciting. And I think it's been kind of good, whenever people ask me this question, what are your post-grad plans, to be just kind of open and honest with people and be well, I don't really have any besides applying, and we are learning to be okay with that. So I think it's definitely, just overall a learning experience. And I think anybody who's gone through the post-grad experience will tell you that it's a different experience for everyone and that it is like a transitional period. So, but I'm really excited to graduate. I'm ready.
Yeah, totally, for sure. I'm pretty sure you speak for all four of us when we say this is definitely something we were not expecting. Just a worldwide pandemic that kind of hit our world within 2 months of being discovered. So thank you for sharing. Yeah, I definitely think we're all in the same boat there, just kind of randomly applying for jobs, seeing who's going to take us, probably taking a little time off since we've all been in school for 4 years. Anna, 6, God bless your hearts. So yeah, thanks for sharing. So our second question that we kind of want to get into, and this kind of gets into the heart of who we are, is why we all picked journalism and as our major, why we chose to study it, and kind of what our favorite part about the field is. And I would love it if Sarah would start us off with that.
All right, all right, all right, all right. To quote Matthew McConaughey. Um, so journalism it definitely wasn't on the radar. I started off at APU undeclared, and then within the first few days, I realized that like I'd always loved making videos, and there was a cinema department, so I became a cinema major, and it was wonderful for that year. But towards the end of it, I found out about the new program like offerings in journalism, which was like the Dope Room and like the podcast studio and like the broadcasting center. And because I was so fascinated in more than just video too, like I wanted to extend my writing ability, also create videos, and like the podcasting center seemed really cool. I think the heart of journalism is storytelling, and that was the biggest component of like, I'm doing it. All right, like I'm all in on taking the creative pursuit for a career in storytelling. So yeah.
Awesome, Sarah. That was great to hear about. I'm glad that you switched to the right major. I see that Krissa wants to go ahead and go next. So Krissa, what do you got to say about that?
Yeah, I guess like piggybacking off of what Sarah said, like the whole storytelling aspect, like I realized like throughout high school, you know, when you're in high school and you're trying to figure out what you're gonna do with your life and choosing your major feels like such like a big thing. I remember when I was thinking about it, I was like, well, like all the things that I really love to do are all about like story. And I had also done an internship at the at like our California State Capitol, and I remember a lot of what I did was like communication. So I did like press releases and things of that sort, and I really loved that. And so I actually didn't do journalism in high school, but when somebody told me that there was a that there was a major where I get to do storytelling and write and kind of get to have this like communication aspect to it, I was like, sign me up. Where is it? And so for anyone who's like wondering about their major, like what they're going to do with their life, like let me tell you, or wants to go into journalism, like I had zero experience going into college and I was so like let that just be like some advice to you guys. It's like it's okay if you have no experience coming in. But I would also say that I think journalism became something deeper, I think, too, as I got into college. My freshman year, second semester, we read Plato's Republic in my other major, honors humanities, and we were talking a lot about like what truth was. And I remember I turned to my professor and I asked him like, how do you know the truth? Like, I don't even know. Like, it's just so beyond me. And he turned to me and he said, well, we're just open to what other people have to say. And, you know, we continue to learn throughout our lives. And I feel like that's really what's at the heart of journalism is this idea of being unbiased, listening to people's stories, looking at different perspectives and angles, and really trying to get the heart of what it means to be human. And so I think that's why I really love journalism. So, yeah.
Yeah, that was great, Krissa. Thank you for sharing that with us. I'm definitely in the same boat as you. My first time writing an article was in our journalism 210 class. Shout out to the introduction class. And I definitely got super interested when, unfortunately, when my father passed away. I remember reading his obituary in the newspaper. And for some reason, I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And I was like, wow, like imagine getting to tell someone else's life story and the highlights of their life and just highlighting them and honoring their memory with a couple of words. So I remember reading that and just being absolutely blown away. And definitely with Sarah too, I didn't think journalism was going to be in the cards for me. I came into the school with as a nursing major, found out I hated blood. So we switched. So I'm glad that I'm out there. So yeah, so we got Anna who
Yeah.
jump into it.
Oh, yeah.
I was just gonna say that I actually wanted to do journalism when I was coming to college. That's something that I intended to do. Although I did start out as an English major, I would soon come to realize that that wasn't ideal for me. But how my story started in student media is that at my previous university, from which I transferred to APU from, I accidentally wound up in the newsroom of the school at the time. An editor handed me a camera. She told me who to go out and interview, and I basically had to go and ask a couple of random people some questions. And I was hooked before, or that was something that I was interested in before. But then after that experience, I was definitely open to kind of getting more serious with journalism and being on staff and working in student media and engaging with people on campus was something that I always really wanted to do. And the storytelling aspect of journalism is great, but also the element of transparency. Christy talked a little bit about seeking the truth. I know it may sound cliche, but a lot of the times that's what we've been doing at Zoo Media. We've been seeking the truth, and some of the stories that we've all written, they haven't been the prettiest or the best received, but they were definitely kind of things that needed to be reported on. And I think that aspect of journalism is crucial and something that I think to some extent all of us have gotten a taste of throughout our time working at Zoo Media.
Awesome. Thank you for such insightful comments, Anna. I definitely think we can all agree with that. And I'm glad that fate had that random assignment for you one day and brought you here with us. Even though we already heard from her, she's got more to say. Praise God. Sarah Sudfeld, what else you got for us?
Yeah, I just wanted to add, I love I think it was Carissa that was talking about depth to the field, and Candy, like your father passing away, all these things play such a huge role into, like, I mean, I came into journalism, it almost felt like circumstance, new facility, I wasn't loving my major, but it was the end of sophomore year when I like made the switch. And one of my first interviews happened to be with John Wallace, and he started telling me some like life advice in the middle of nowhere. And I actually have like one of the pieces that he said to me. He said, God has called us to faithfulness, not success. My best learning and yours is often through difficult times, not successful times. And I sat there and I was, first of all, in awe that he would take time to speak with me, and second, just so grateful that people were willing to tell their stories. And journalism was a field where I felt like I could get advice from every person that I ever got the chance to interview. And like, what a unique profession to be able to do that. So thank you for letting me speak again.
Thanks for your add-on, Sarah. Definitely, fate, I think, just had a big part of it. And I definitely think throughout our lives, we definitely figured out those passions that we have, whether it was intentional or not. I'm glad that we all ended up here. So moving on to our next question, and we're definitely going to have everyone speak on this. I can kind of go first, then we'll hop to the Carissa, then Sarah, then Anna. But given your position on staff, would you consider staying in that branch or moving to a different one? So just a quick reminder, I work for the magazine and the podcast side, and I love both outlets, and I can definitely see myself staying with podcasts, whether that be a pre-recorded podcast or live radio, or even going into staying a managing editor for some sort of magazine. But I think definitely what I want to do straight after school is probably work for a local news outlet or pretty major one, whatever is in the cards. Just the concept of being a breaking news reporter is amazing to me, just kind of always being on call, random news just happening wherever and getting the first to be like, hey, this is what's going on down the street. Just that really high excitement level just intrigues me greatly. So I definitely think I can see myself staying in those two fields, but I definitely would love to move to a breaking news side of things. How about you, Carissa?
Yeah, so I'm currently editor-in-chief of Zoo News, and okay, as a person, I would love to just do it all. I guess if that makes sense, like I think being a reporter is great, and what's so great about like journalism today is that you can be a multimedia journalist, so you can make videos, you can do podcasting, you can do a lot of different things. And so I think when I think about it, like coming, I think straight out of college, I would like to be like working for a local like newspaper for sure. But I think it would be super fun to like start my own podcast on the side, or to also just like dabble a little bit in like, I don't know, like I would love to do audiobooks, guys. Like that would be so fun. So I think like it's just like, it's kind of just like one of those things where it's like, and I also really love long form. So for me, it's more about like where the road takes me, I think, and what opportunities I happen to stumble upon. So I think that's really what it's about for me. But I think Sarah's next, right? What about you, Sarah?
Yeah, I am executive producer. Um, I could see myself potentially in some form of video going forward. Um, I think it's interesting because as I look back at why I'm here, it was never necessarily like I want to work in the field of journalism. I loved the writing components and the like radio components and the video, but I never saw myself as like a first on the scene type of deal. But I've loved getting to know everybody in the program who is so passionate about that. Um, but I'm not too sure what the future holds. I'm giving it just I'm giving it all to the big man upstairs, and I'm praying and I'm hoping for the best. So we'll see.
Awesome. Thanks, Sarah. Definitely love hearing that. Definitely putting that faith in God, even though it can be hard. I know for me, I struggle with that. So I definitely admire that in you, that you're going to leave it up to that. Well, I need to be in control of everything. Anna, how about yourself?
Yeah, so I am the current editor-in-chief of the magazine. Before that, I worked on the newspaper side of things. And working in the magazine has definitely allowed me to be more creative in the way that I tell my stories. But down the road, I think I will definitely go into investigative reporting, probably international affairs, because that's something that really interests me. I'm definitely a person that loves to travel, to find myself in all sorts of different circumstances, and it's challenging but also really rewarding. And yeah, like Carissa said, also exploring other ways in which I can be creative, whether it be through a podcast or more creative kind of writing, nonfiction. That is definitely something that being in my current grad program has allowed me to explore, which is something that I didn't do as an undergraduate student. So definitely kind of trying to align my interests with also the opportunities that come my way, because we don't always get what we want, but sometimes we don't even realize that those are the things that we need in order to grow as journalists and as people.
Yeah, for sure, Anna. I definitely agree with a lot of what you said, kind of just aligning your personal interests with your work. Because, they say when you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. So I definitely think I got that from that. So that's a great reminder, especially as the four of us are looking for jobs. So our next thing we're going to discuss is kind of working in a online platform versus a physical platform. The four of us have obviously been working remotely when it comes to COVID. At one point, all four of us, heads of all four departments, were in different cities, different time zones, and running a whole news outlet kind of got difficult with that. But as we have progressed throughout the year of being quarantined and kind of social distancing, we've kind of learned how to adapt to our online platform. As we know, vaccines are in the work. We're becoming more aware of what COVID is, and our world will eventually return to what it used to be. But my question for all of us, and I can go ahead and start for this one, is when it comes to a COVID-free world, would you prefer to stay on the online platform, or would you rather move to an in-person publication? And since I kind of have goals to be a breaking news reporter, definitely think I'd want to be in person for that. Hard to report on news in San Francisco when you're in Indio. But I definitely can see myself working from home. I think throughout the year, I've definitely enjoyed being at home, whether that be getting to roll out of bed 5 minutes before a meeting and only looking presentable from the waist up, or just doing the casual meetings through Zoom. Definitely a lot more chill and a lot more casual than I think in-person stuff, while also still producing professional work. So I definitely think, out of the two, I think I'd lean more to I think I'd lean more towards an online platform. I think it'd be cool to just pop out content about whatever and just being able to post that whenever, versus an in-person news station. We kind of work on a strict deadline, get this out this, post it to social media then, updates for the rest of the story process. So yeah, those are my thoughts on that. How about you, Carissa?
Yeah, it's so interesting because I'm not really like when I think about it, like this year, I feel like has really opened my eyes to like, okay, like who I am as a person and like how I have dealt with virtual and things like that. So I actually think I really like humans, even though I'm an introvert. I really like to be around people. And so I think personally, I would love to be in a physical newsroom. Obviously, that would look different just in the world that we're graduating into. So I think definitely like during graduation, I might end up having just a virtual or remote job, which I am totally okay with. Like Candy has kind of listed all those benefits of just like rolling out of bed and like those kind of things. So I think there are benefits to both, but when I think about like who I am as a person, I think going to a physical place, interacting with human beings is just something that I really love, and having that kind of separate workspace and home space, because otherwise I just kind of work all the time. And so I think it's just good for me personally to be in like a physical newsroom. I mean, obviously that news outlet will most likely have online things anyway, but yeah, I would love to be in person. Yeah.
Yeah, you're totally right, Carissa. I definitely think when you mentioned like kind of always working, I know for myself, I get distracted very easily. Like I'll be here sitting in class, I'm like, oh look, my Nintendo Switch is right next to me. Why not just like open it up real quick? So I guess those are definitely one of those disadvantages that you mentioned that I kind of forgot to think about. But I think I'd still pick an online platform because I think it'd just be really fun. But thank you again for sharing with us, Carissa. Sarah, we'd love to hear your opinions on that.
Yeah, great points made on on either side, really. Um, yeah, I actually, by the time this video is posted, we'll see if I got the job, but I got in a job interview tomorrow with a bakery. Um, I think that there's something biblical about baking bread. And bigger than that, I for real have Zoom fatigue. Um, this doesn't count in that. This is for fun. But I will say that I'm looking forward to interacting with human beings on a like one-on-one scenario. I ended up like living at home for the pandemic, and so I want to get outside of the fam for a bit and get in person, kind of figure out who I am coming out of the pandemic while applying to the bigger jobs and whatnot. So in person is my answer. And y'all wish me luck on that interview tomorrow, huh?
You got it, Sarah. We are definitely praying for you. Other than being biblical, bakeries are awesome. I love me a good fruit tart from 85 Degree Cafe. But thank you again for sharing. Definitely another point for the in-person column. Anna, are you gonna tie us up for that, or are you gonna put me at the bottom?
No, I'm gonna wish Sarah luck for that bakery job because I feel like it has your name written all over it. But to answer your question, Candy, I am definitely an advocate for in-person everything because I love being with people. And another thing that I love about journalism is that it's a communal kind of, you can't do this job alone. You have to have other people that you lean on and then you work with, and just the whole camaraderie that goes on behind the scenes. That's something that I love. That's something that I've definitely missed um, since we've been online, and something that I look forward to once we're able to be in person again. And yeah, I actually applied and I got into this fellowship program. So I'm currently looking into various placements, and there are different job postings and everything. And all of them say, yeah, we're potentially going to be in person this fall or towards the end of the year. And it's a year-long program. And I'm like, I really wish that we'll be able to be in person, because it would just suck if I got that opportunity and then I would be just doing it from my laptop and I wouldn't get to meet all the other incredible people that are probably in the program, and my professors, teachers, whoever I'm going to be hearing from throughout that year. So I'm really hoping that we will be able to do journalism in person with other people that we care about really soon.
Yeah, for sure. First of all, congratulations on that. That sounds like such an amazing opportunity. Congrats on landing that. So happy for you. Definitely totally get what the three of you are saying. I might just be lazy. Who knows? So we're coming up on our last question today, which is so sad to say, but it's definitely been a while since the four of us have been together. And it's funny because we've been running this outlet kind of as heads of all departments, kind of been running this all together, but it's been weird because there are definitely people here who I haven't seen in almost a year and a half now, which is sad to say, but we have become better because of it. So lastly, and I love if Anna can start us off with this. If you guys don't know Anna, she has one of the most impressive resumes out there. So I'd love if you can start us off with this question, Anna. Whether that be APU or any other college of someone's choice, what advice would you give an incoming journalism student or person who doesn't believe in the media?
What advice I'd give them? I would advise them to listen to podcasts like this, or people like us actually talk about their passions and explain why they do what they do and why they don't sleep at night in order to complete the work that they do, because we all love our jobs. We're all human, we're all empathetic, we all have emotions, we all are compassionate toward the people and communities for which we report. And I think that sometimes when people see a story that they don't like, or it articulates opinions that they don't necessarily agree with, they get mad, but they're getting mad at the story. But for some reason, they then project that anger onto us journalists, whereas we're just doing our jobs. We're not really the people to blame. I mean, we have our own bias checks and we try to produce the most unbiased work that we can. And we're also human sometimes. So we may fall short of that standard. But I would just encourage people to be more empathetic and to really try to think about why people like us do the job that we do. And it is because we literally love it so much. Otherwise, we wouldn't all be on this podcast, or we wouldn't call ourselves journalists in our bios. So I think that's what I would tell someone if they told me that they didn't believe in the media.
Awesome, Anna. Thank you for sharing that. Definitely killer advice. So thank you again for sharing that. It looks like Carissa's got something to say. So let's hear it, Carissa.
Yeah, I think too, like, I think something that I would say to like incoming journalists, as well as like just people who didn't believe in like the media, like this like area is growing and evolving with like technology. And so I think you have to like be patient sometimes, I guess. And also, if you see like issues like in media and things like that, like you can be a part of that solution, right? Like you can go in and be a good journalist, or you can start your own company to like solve a problem that you see like within journalism, or you can, there's like a million things that you can kind of do to, be a just like to kind of like, like try and like move this journalism forward, if that makes sense. And I think that's like something that you can say to young journalists, people who don't necessarily believe in the media. Like we are constantly innovating and changing. And so I think having faith and hope in things is like something that's just so important, especially in journalism.
Awesome. I totally think you're right, Carissa. We have definitely come a long way from the printing press back then and having one person as a designated news sharer to a field that has over thousands of occupants. So thank you for sharing that. That was definitely really good to hear. Next, let's hear what Sarah Sudfeld's got to say.
Yeah, I found there to be a real love for journalism, and that mainly came in when I was learning about it. Like I didn't know much about it before turning into the major. Um, and like we even think of this pandemic, the truth is in the numbers, and who reported on that is the reason that we're able to still have, like, of the people that did get the virus, there are so many that are okay, and it's because of education and people like hearing the word, okay, we need to stay at home. We can't just go out, and that's thanks to journalism. Um, and like the truth shapes our reality. So as long as there's people like Carissa, Anna, and Candy like out there fighting the good fight, uh, I've got a lot of faith in our society. So there's that.
Thank you for the ego boost. I appreciated it. And don't you downplay yourself too. You are you're a reporter of the people. I definitely would trust anything that you put out there. If you told me jumping off a cliff was good for my health, I'd definitely go do it. But I think when it comes to my position on that, I think some advice that I'd give someone is to be very open to your writing styles. I definitely think we come into journalism or any branch of writing and just kind of think, yeah, this is the writing that's always worked for me. Let me do that. I remember the first story I think I ever wrote for Zoom Media was almost 1,200 words. And that's like twice our word count. It was obviously destroyed and demolished. And at that point, I was like, oh my gosh, am I in the right major? Did I pick the right writing place? So I definitely think to be open to definitely learning new styles of writing, because after I want to say finishing our BAs up in it, I can definitely see how different academic writing can be different from journalism, and just how they could be the same as well, how they relate. And when it comes to advice, or what I would say to someone who doesn't believe in the media, it kind of aligns with that too. There's a certain training that we go to. There is formats that we follow. There are rules that we all follow to make everything as concise as possible. There are morals that we follow. I think in today's day and age, we have a lot of citizen journalism, which obviously has its benefits in terms of like breaking news or trending news, but that also comes to fake news or improper interviews or improper formatting. So I definitely think, I think I was saying this earlier for a speech that I was giving, you definitely wouldn't go to a doctor about math questions, or maybe you would actually, but you definitely wouldn't go to a nurse about writing questions. You definitely wouldn't go to an author about science questions. So I definitely think the people who train to be in these positions are to be trusted, I believe. And like Carissa mentioned when she was talking, if you do notice like that issue in the media and you do kind of have a passion for sharing that, share that with someone, share that with your academic advisor, share that with someone who can kind of put you on that path to be that type of change. I think here at APU, we've all kind of learned that when it comes to our journalism degrees, we want to be that change in the media field. None of us want to contribute to the fake news sharing. None of us want to contribute to the hatred towards writing. We all just want to go out there and bring the news to the people who need it, tell the stories that can't be heard. So I definitely think if you see a problem with it, call us out on it, especially call us out on it. Join us to help us solve the problem. Just do your part, because I think it is a huge part of our country and definitely needed. But yes, that was our 5 questions in our roundtable discussion. I want to thank Carissa, Sarah, and Anna again for joining me. Thank you for taking the time out of your day. to just sit here and talk with us about it. But unfortunately, we do have to come to a close again. If you want to hear more from us, if you want to listen to any more of our content or read some of our writing, you can definitely find all of our author pages on zoomedia.com under the authors page. See some of the articles that we wrote as freshmen to some of the articles we're writing to now. I definitely keep an eye on these three girls. They all have really bright futures, and I can't wait to see what they do when it comes to it. Definitely proud to call them colleagues and friends even better. So again, thank you all for joining us for our roundtable discussion. For more content like this, check out zoonews.com. Thank you guys for tuning in and listening. Bye, everybody.